Hello everyone. Welcome to Cybersecurity Learning Hub, your one-stop hub for all things cybersecurity. Imagine this. You turn on your computer. Everything seems normal at first, then you try to open a file. Instead of your document, you're greeted by a menacing message. Your data is gone, held hostage. The criminals demand payment, often in untraceable cryptocurrency, to unlock what's rightfully yours. This is the nightmare of ransomware, a growing threat affecting individuals and organizations worldwide. What started as a simple scheme has morphed into a global security crisis. Early ransomware attacks were often unsophisticated. Today, we're facing organized cybercrime syndicates with advanced technical capabilities. The Colonial Pipeline attack, which brought fuel supplies on the U.S. East Coast to a standstill, served as a stark reminder of the potential real-world consequences. It's no longer a matter of if, but when an organization will be targeted. So, what exactly is ransomware? It's a type of malicious software designed to deny access to your digital assets. The attacker's goal is simple: hold your data hostage until you pay a ransom for its release. Ransomware typically works by encrypting your files, making them inaccessible without a decryption key. Regardless of the technique, the outcome is the same. You're denied access to your own data until you meet the attacker's demands. Imagine your computer as a house and your files as valuable possessions inside. Ransomware is like a thief who breaks into your house and changes all the locks, trapping your belongings inside. The thief then leaves a note demanding payment for the keys. Just like in the physical world, paying the ransom doesn't guarantee the return of your possessions. That's why law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity experts strongly advise against paying ransoms. The origins of ransomware can be traced back to the late 1980s. One of the earliest known examples, the AIDS Trojan, targeted researchers attending a World Health Organization conference on AIDS. Distributed via floppy disks, the Trojan masqueraded as legitimate software. The attackers demanded $189 to be mailed to a post office box in Panama for a decryption tool. Little did anyone know that this early experiment would evolve into one of the most pervasive and damaging cyber threats of the 21st century. The AIDS Trojan, while innovative for its time, remained a relatively isolated incident. This began to change in the late 2000s as cybercriminals recognized the potential of combining ransomware with strong encryption. Cybercriminals began using sophisticated encryption tools to lock up victims' files, making it practically impossible to recover the data without the decryption key. This marked a significant shift in the ransomware landscape, paving the way for the rise of crypto-ransomware. In 2013, a new player emerged on the scene: CryptoLocker. CryptoLocker combined strong encryption with cryptocurrency. Demands for payment were made in Bitcoin, offering anonymity and ease of transfer. The anonymity of Bitcoin made it difficult for law enforcement to trace payments. CryptoLocker's success spawned a wave of imitations, ushering in an era of increasingly sophisticated and damaging crypto-ransomware attacks. With CryptoLocker's success, the floodgates opened. Cybercriminals began developing and deploying their own crypto-ransomware variants. They started targeting specific industries and organizations, tailoring their ransom demands to the perceived value of the data held hostage. Attackers began exploiting software vulnerabilities to gain access to systems remotely. The ransomware landscape was rapidly evolving, becoming more sophisticated, more targeted, and more dangerous. The year 2017 marked a turning point in the history of ransomware. WannaCry, a particularly aggressive ransomware strain, ripped through computer systems globally. WannaCry exploited a critical vulnerability in Microsoft Windows, known as Eternal Blue. The impact was immediate and far-reaching, crippling systems like the UK's National Health Service. The attack highlighted the vulnerability of critical infrastructure and the potential for ransomware to disrupt essential services. Just weeks after WannaCry, another ransomware attack shook the world. NotPetya, initially disguised as a ransomware attack, targeting Ukraine, quickly spread beyond its intended target. Unlike WannaCry, NotPetya's primary goal seemed to be destruction, not financial gain. Security researchers later discovered that NotPetya contained a destructive component designed to wipe data. NotPetya's indiscriminate nature and destructive capabilities raised serious concerns about the evolving motivations of ransomware attackers. The emergence of WannaCry and NotPetya marked a disturbing trend, the rise of destructive attacks. These attacks weren't primarily motivated by financial gain, but rather by the desire to cause maximum disruption and damage. Destructive ransomware often employed techniques that made data recovery impossible. Some attacks were attributed to nation-state actors seeking to disrupt critical infrastructure. The rise of destructive ransomware attacks added a new layer of complexity and urgency to the fight against this evolving threat. The combined impact of WannaCry, NotPetya, and the growing trend of destructive attacks elevated ransomware to a global crisis. Governments and organizations worldwide were forced to acknowledge the severity of the threat. It had become a systemic risk, capable of disrupting essential services and threatening national security. The international community began to recognize the need for a coordinated response. The fight against ransomware had become a global priority, demanding unprecedented collaboration and innovation. As ransomware attacks surged, a sinister new business model emerged, Ransomware-as-a-Service, or RaaS. RaaS operates much like legitimate software-as-a-service models, but with a criminal twist. Cybercrime gangs develop and maintain ransomware strains, then offer them for rent or sale on underground forums. These gangs handle everything from malware development to payment infrastructure. For aspiring cybercriminals, RaaS eliminates the need for technical expertise. This sharing of profits incentivizes the creation of even more sophisticated and damaging ransomware. If the rise of RaaS wasn't alarming enough, ransomware attackers soon added another tactic, double extortion. Double extortion involves stealing sensitive data before encrypting it. Attackers then demand a ransom to decrypt the files and threaten to leak the stolen data if the ransom isn't paid. This tactic puts immense pressure on victims, creating a powerful incentive to pay the ransom. The threat of public exposure and potential financial and legal fallout amplifies the damage inflicted. Double extortion has become a common and highly effective strategy for ransomware operators. The year was 2021. In May, a cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline thrust the threat of ransomware into the spotlight. The attack disrupted fuel supplies, causing price spikes and exposing the fragility of critical infrastructure. Images of panicked drivers lining up at gas stations dominated news headlines. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a wake-up call, demonstrating the potential for ransomware to cripple critical infrastructure. It was a stark reminder that a cyber attack on one company could have ripple effects felt globally. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a meticulously planned and executed operation. It all started with a single compromised password, a seemingly insignificant security lapse that would have far-reaching consequences. The attackers, a cybercriminal gang known as DarkSide, believed to be operating under a ransomware-as-a-service model, gained access to Colonial Pipeline's IT network using a stolen VPN account credential. This credential, reportedly found on the dark web, provided a backdoor into the company's systems. Once inside, the attackers moved laterally through the network, escalating their privileges and searching for valuable data. They deployed their ransomware payload, encrypting critical files and systems, effectively crippling Colonial Pipeline's operations. Fearing that the ransomware could spread to the operational technology network, which controlled the physical pipeline itself, Colonial Pipeline made the difficult decision to proactively shut down the entire pipeline system. The shutdown had immediate and cascading effects. With the pipeline out of commission, gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel deliveries ground to a halt. Gas stations along the East Coast quickly ran dry as panicked drivers rushed to fill their tanks, leading to long lines, price gouging, and a sense of unease not felt in recent memory. The attack exposed the vulnerability of critical infrastructure to cyber threats, highlighting the potential for real-world chaos stemming from digital intrusions. The Colonial Pipeline attack marked a watershed moment in the fight against ransomware. It was a stark reminder that these attacks were no longer just a nuisance or a cost of doing business. They posed a significant threat to national security, economic stability, and public safety. The incident triggered a swift and decisive response from the U.S. government, which had previously taken a somewhat hands-off approach to ransomware. The Biden administration declared a state of emergency, issuing waivers to ease fuel transportation restrictions and deploying federal resources to assist with the response and recovery efforts. The FBI, which had been tracking DarkSide for some time, launched a full-scale investigation, ultimately recovering a significant portion of the ransom paid by Colonial Pipeline. The U.S. government also imposed sanctions on individuals and entities associated with DarkSide, sending a clear message that harboring ransomware operators would have consequences. The Colonial Pipeline attack served as a catalyst for a series of policy changes and initiatives aimed at strengthening cybersecurity and combating ransomware. The Biden administration issued an executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity, mandating stricter security standards for federal agencies and contractors. The Transportation Security Administration issued new cybersecurity directives for pipeline operators, requiring them to implement stronger security measures and report incidents to the government. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a wake-up call, prompting a long-overdue reckoning with the growing threat of ransomware. It forced governments and organizations to take the threat seriously, invest in cybersecurity, and develop a coordinated response to this evolving challenge. From its humble beginnings on floppy disks to its current status as a national security threat, ransomware's evolution has been as relentless as it is alarming. The days of simple encryption and modest ransom demands are long gone. Today, we face a complex and evolving threat landscape driven by sophisticated cybercriminal organizations, the proliferation of ransomware-as-a-service, and the ruthless tactics of double and triple extortion. The Colonial Pipeline attack served as a stark warning, exposing the vulnerability of critical infrastructure and the potential for real-world chaos stemming from these digital intrusions. It forced governments and organizations worldwide to acknowledge the gravity of the threat and the need for a coordinated and robust response. The fight against ransomware is far from over. Cybercriminals are constantly adapting their tactics, seeking new vulnerabilities to exploit in new ways to maximize their profits. The key to mitigating this evolving threat lies in a multifaceted approach. We need to fortify our digital defenses, investing in strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, regular software updates, and robust backup and recovery solutions. Equally important is the need to raise awareness, educating individuals and employees about the dangers of ransomware, how to identify phishing attempts and suspicious links, and the importance of following cybersecurity best practices. We must also foster collaboration, sharing threat intelligence, best practices, and resources across organizations and industries. Governments and law enforcement agencies play a crucial role in disrupting ransomware operations, pursuing and prosecuting cybercriminals, and deterring future attacks. The fight against ransomware is a shared responsibility. By working together, raising awareness, and strengthening our digital defenses, we can mitigate this evolving threat and create a safer and more secure digital future. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thank you.